All right. This ain't just a show. This is a platform. Veteran built, battle tested. Welcome to the Misfit Nation. Yeah! In a room, built from boots on the ground, now we breaking the rules. 2 vets, 1 leader, painting the sound, turn scars into sermons, let them echo around. Artists with truth, musicians with fire, actors backstage chasing something higher. Entrepreneurs bleeding just to get ahead. If you fought for your dream, yeah, you are what you said. If they told you no, if you still came back, if you fell to your knees but you stayed on track, this is your voice, this is your flame. Say it loud, remember the name. No salvation, just elevation. We rise again. From the fight to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. No damn labels, no damn cages. If you're still breathing, you belong. Turn it up. This is our song. Yeah. This is our song. Yeah. Veterans standing with ghosts in the chest. First responders running in while the world second guess. Gold star names carved deep in the soul. Your story ain't over, we carry the whole. Coaches teaching mindset, breaking the chains, turning barely alive into owning the pain. Truth over polish, scars on display. If it's real, let it bleed. That's the misfit play. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. It's stop right now. We're the more than you know. Don't walk alone. Veterans press 1, bring it home. Don't trade forever for tonight. You're still needed in this fight. We are the Misfit Nation, built from scars and dedication. We rise again. From the fight to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. Every voice is fabrication. From the silence to the scream, we're strong. Welcome home. You belong.
All right. Welcome back to the Misfit Nation. It's our Thursday after dinner show. Thanks for hanging out with us as you get ready for this weekend, Super Bowl weekend. Our guest is actually getting on a trip tomorrow. He's going on his first vacation while we're talking about that in the green room, but we'll go back to that in a minute. First, we have a lot of remembrance to go on tonight. We missed a few thanks to missing a show on Sunday, so we'll add all of them in here. We'll say their names, we'll remember them, and know the Misfit Nation will keep them in your thoughts and prayers. First up, we got Deputy Sheriff Derek Bonham, Weakley County Sheriff's Office right here in Tennessee. End of watch, Friday, January 30th, 2026. Deputy Sheriff Christopher Olmeyer, Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office, Louisiana. End of watch, Friday, January 30th, 2026. Police Officer Senior Pradeep Tamang, Gwinnett County Police Department, Georgia. End of watch, Sunday, February 1st, 2026. And Deputy Sheriff Rick Haggard, Lee County Sheriff's Department, Mississippi. End of watch, February 2nd, 2026. Let's keep them in your thoughts, your prayers, their families, their friends, their peers, their communities, after they go through this sudden life change. We know every day they put those uniforms on, their families know something bad can happen. They hope it doesn't, but when it does, it still is a sudden change. So think about that as they go through this troubling time in their lives over the next weeks, months, years, and those communities heal from what has happened with those 4 officers. Tonight on the Misfit Nation, we welcome a good one. He's U.S. Army veteran. He's an author, storyteller. His journey includes leadership in uniform, heart failure, hard transitions, and finding purpose through words. His story is honest, funny, and deeply human. And it reminds us that sometimes survival itself is the victory. So, without further ado, let's welcome U.S. Army veteran and author Kenny Dupar to the Misfit Nation. Welcome, Kenny.
Thank you very much.
It's great to have you here. And of course, coming from the other side of Tennessee, it's great to have us both here at the same time. You're in a different time zone because you're on that side of the map, but welcome into the Misfit Nation.
Thank you. I appreciate you honoring those first responders, those cops. You know, the thing about police officers and you know, the people in blue is that they don't get to say, hey, here's my weapon, I'm going home. You know, that was the thing about deployment, is that you have to you know, you have that tremendous responsibility of having a firearm. And for the cops, you know, I always wanted to get in good with the MPs for a variety of reasons.
Yes.
But it's always good to know what the cops are doing.
Right.
But I always had tremendous respect for those guys because you can't turn it off.
Right.
You know,
And
you
those
have
guys,
you have that weapon. You've got that responsibility all the time.
it's 100%. They're on all the time, and they never meet people on their best days. They usually meet someone on their worst day, and then they have to kind of go through that whole thing every day. It's just on repeat. It's like Groundhog's Day for them every day, going through that. Oh, who am I gonna meet today, and how bad was their day? How do I try to make it better? And it's a never-ending cycle, and that's why we praise them when they do good, and we remember them when something horrible happens to them. So, Ken, I gave the basic elevator pitch story about you right there. If you don't mind, reach back into the Wayback Machine. Tell us as much about you as you want to, from as far back as you want to how we got here.
I survived. I'm 57 and a half, and I've been retired for a few years now, and every day is gravy. You know, it's like I feel like I finally lived up to my Army nickname, Biscuit, because I was always sucking up the gravy. You've heard that one before, right? But I was in the Army Reserve for 30 years, and then 8 of those years was active federal.
Okay.
And I enlisted in the Army Reserve in college. I was a cadetiate, and I graduated. I wanted to go active duty, and the Army downsized right after the Persian Gulf War. And I'm like, what? So you know, life expects you to have a plan B, but I didn't have a plan B. So the civilian world is daunting. I've deployed, I've come home, went from hero to zero. And I always had this desire to express myself and write, and it's cathartic, it's therapeutic. And I had these crazy vignettes of the things that I did during my first deployment to Iraq. And I just started writing it down, and it was pretty funny. I did some pretty bizarre things. And in the interim, in between my deployments, I was there. I'd like to say I was in Iraq for the first inning and the 9th inning, and I trained troops in between. You're a contractor. You said training at Campbell. How long have you been doing that? How long have you been on the trail?
Since 2018, we've been training. I've been there, and my partner Jake's been there about 4 more years than I have doing that. I retired from the active duty in 2015.
How many years did you put in?
22.
Sweet. Yeah, that's a cool.
Came in about the same time you came in. Well, right after Desert Storm ended is when I came in. So 93, 91, 92, 93.
Yeah, so we have some nice overlap there. I retired in 2017.
Yeah.
Hopefully you've got better equipment than we had back in the day. I was training route reconnaissance, and we would have blown up Huskies that we got from overseas, and just trying to train people on how to employ this thing. And route recon became a big thing. The engineers, of which is my tribe, got handed that mission.
Yeah.
Winning the war at 3 kilometers an hour.
If you're lucky, 3 kilometers an hour. That was another thankless job, and that's a thankless job in the overseas. Some engineers back home, they get to do some cool stuff in the field, but then when they get switched over, a platoon gets switched over to the route recon platoon. That platoon becomes basically the forward observer for a whole brigade, usually brigade combat team, as they can't move forward without that route recon going through, and everyone's waiting for that clear to go through, and they're going through hoping they don't find it, and also hoping that they do find it at the same time.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people, or shall I say, when this was first kicking off, they would count how many times that people got blown up. And as we try to understand traumatic brain injury,
Yeah.
and the concussive effects of explosions, I think we've come to the realization that there's really no healing from that. Unfortunately, it's like the NFL trying to make an improved helmet. It's like, well, you can't. If someone tackles you and you're running, and your brain is going to slosh to the front, and
Still going to move.
Takes a lot of bravery to do that, a lot of guts.
Definitely 100%. And that was a part of when I first started this job. That was our main mission, was counter IED. So I was the intel guy in the team, and Jake, of course, so he was EOD by trade, so he did that side of it, the route recon, and our boss was an engineer by trade. So those two teamed up on all that stuff, and I just got to hang out with them and do some cool stuff and train engineers to do these jobs, and seeing them,
Perfect.
young men and women, go through the training and do it, and then go forward and come back and thank us. That was the best feeling ever, to get them come back, all of them come back, and know that we had a small part in helping that happen.
Sure, absolutely. So I don't think I didn't send you Scoundrels in Iraq yet, have I?
No, sir.
I will certainly do that afterwards.
Okay.
If you'd like that, or I also made the audio book. But in essence, I figured out the war in Iraq
Okay.
to my satisfaction.
All right.
And as I was writing it, my mother asked me, "Who's your audience?" And like an idiot, I said, "The whole world," And I had to get this story out, and it occurred to me that within my research, the war in Iraq has been depicted by special operators, infantry officers, the 35,000 feet level, the strategery and all like that. But my experience was quite different. It wasn't a matter of throwing lead down range. I wasn't running and gunning. And so the first year was the Wild West in Iraq, but I had to explain, and I shaped the book so I could explain what a counterinsurgency is to Mr. and Mrs. America.
Right.
And it gets complicated in a hurry. Did you deploy overseas?
4 times, yes.
Where were you at?
I was gone. I was already deployed when 9/11 happened, so I was on the border of Kuwait and Iraq when 9/11 occurred. So that turned into a combat deployment. The second time was Iraq, Ramadi, 03 to 04. Then Afghanistan, Afghanistan 10, 11, and 12.
Yeah. So about it being like the Wild West in 03, 04.
Oh, definitely. 100%.
Yeah. When we got to, we were the first combat heavy engineer battalion over the berm, and got to BIOP at the end of May of 2003. Okay. And so a lot of things were blown up. And so we were building the entry control points up by Abu Ghraib and by Route Tampa and past Ring Road and stuff like that. So it was bizarre. We didn't have up armored nothing.
No.
I mean, being the Army Reserve, you're like the redheaded stepchild, We landed when we got to Kuwait. We had BDUs and black boots.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Oh yeah, we didn't get we didn't get DCUs until we were there about 4 months.
Oh wow.
No, actually, no. I take that back. We got 2 sets in Kuwait, and we got 2 more sets about 6 months later.
6 months later. That you can throw out the first pair since they were destroyed by then.
Yeah. So, being that you have personal experience, let me cut to the chase. Who do you think won the war?
Who won the war?
Who won the war? I think that the default with the American people is that it was a mistake.
That's what most people that were never over there would say. I believe the people of Iraq win the war. The people that are now free to live and free to make their own choices, as we are even slower. We're even moving out further now. We're out of the Western Iraq now. We are just in Erbil now, I believe is the only place we're at right now in Iraq. So it's their country again. It's theirs to do with. We're just there to basically advise and help. So I'd say the people of Iraq won.
I would agree. I haven't kept up with how they're doing, but they're not threatening their neighbors anymore.
Not at all.
And no one's going to lament the fact that Saddam Hussein is gone.
Right.
And you can't really measure the blood and treasure. You can measure the treasure. Was it worth the sacrifice and all like that?
Yeah.
It's always dicey, and for me coming back, I enlisted in 1987, and so the hangover from Vietnam was there, and you're like, I really hope that when the politicians start gambling with people's lives again, that my war isn't like Vietnam. Yep. So I still think the perception is that it was a failed effort, but I don't believe that. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Here's my book cover.
There it is.
The Woman with the Purple Finger is one of my chapters. And I did this specifically because in 2005, they had a free and fair election.
That's right.
And as far as I know, their democracy is continuing. And, you had people from, you had JAG officers helping them stand back up an independent judiciary.
Yep.
And you had provisional reconstruction teams doing all kinds of work. We did a lot of, on my second deployment, we did a lot of work supporting the Iraqi army and the Air Force. We built a lot of schools. So we did a lot of good work. We crushed their road network, though. I have to say that. But
it helped.
When President Obama said, "No, we're getting out of there, lock, stock, and barrel," it was like the head nod. It was like, yeah, I think it makes sense. We should have kept 10,000 troopers behind, but that isn't what happened. But I think that overall, yes, I agree with you, Rich, that the Iraqi people are in a far better place.
Yes, and the world can argue over wins and losses and that. We won many battles during the X amount of years we were there, with 15 years of fighting there. We won a lot of battles, but it wasn't really a game of winning for us. The game of winning really happened in 2003 and 4. That's when we got the big win. We got rid of him and started really toppling all his little henchmen and his sons and all that. It was after that where we can see you had the opportunity to go back and meet them again and see the things that were actually starting to prosper. And now, as we look in, we can look from the 1,000 meters out and look in on the scope and say, "Oh, we did a good job, and what we did mattered."
Absolutely, I agree with you. It's an amazing culture. It's been there for thousands and thousands of years. It was the Arab world's Ivy League school. So in terms of their engineering, their arts, the whole schmear. I mean, they invented zero. Okay. So, I mean, there's nothing you can't, push past them. They're very intelligent, very capable people. But it's so damn hot there. You can really understand why it's so damn hard to get anything done. But it's a different
angry. I can understand why they're angry all the time when it being that hot.
But the culture difference is huge.
Yes.
And I remember when I was growing up, I had no idea that Islam had two huge, two fighting sects, the Sunnis and the Shia.
Yeah.
It's like it makes the troubles in Ireland, North Ireland, between the Protestants and the Catholics look like a tea party, because it's been going on for so long. And so I tell people, to understand the war, you have to look through the Sunni Shia schism, look through that lens and understand how much they've been fighting. And when the woman with the purple finger, they voted in 2005 and they wouldn't wash the ink off of their index fingers. That's how that was their way of maintaining their election integrity. It was dip your finger in the inkwell so you can't vote again.
Yeah.
But the majority Sunni or the majority Shia who had been oppressed all of a sudden had the ability to vote. And so it's a very sectarian country. Kurds are not Arabs. Nope. They're not Turks. They're not Armenian. They're not Persians. They've been there for thousands of years, and everyone has kicked their ass, from Alexander the Great to to Genghis Khan, right? To the British, everybody. So it's enormously complex. But still, that's part of the story. The other part is what about families? I think that families deploy too.
Oh, yeah.
And the post-deployment struggles are huge. I've spoken to people about what does that infantryman do once he gets off active duty? It's that transition is very hard. We talked about the police. MPs can transition to law enforcement. Engineers can there's plenty of construction opportunities. But what do you think about the idea of the military's transition capabilities? In other words, if we could fix transition, I think recruitment would go up tremendously.
I think transition, as me and you saw it in 15 and 17, is 100% different now. It's way better now, and sad to say that lessons have to be learned along the way. As our grandfathers and fathers and uncles came out of Vietnam, there was no transition out there at all. VA was horrible for them, but their lessons learned from that made the VA what it is now for us, the services we have and the education benefits we have. What we went through in the Cold War through the end of our terms, through the Army transition period, TAPS, or whatever they call Soldier for Life to Transition Assistance Program, TAP, is now changed. And now soldiers can, on their last 120 days, they can do an internship, still get paid by the Army, by the military, but go to someplace in a field where they think they want to fit in. Because one of the biggest things that many veterans do in their first year out of the military is they quit that first job. I think it's between 70 and 80% quit that first job, and within that first year, because they do not like what they jumped into, and they do not like that transition from having a structure where, hey, if I give you a mission, it's going to be done now, to here, if I give you a job, you have 40 hours to do it. Take your time. Do what you
exactly.
Do.
Exactly.
It's very hard to transition that way. But now I think it's a lot better for the service member. And the other thing, part of the transition now that's awesome, they do their comprehensive physical for the VA and their ETS retirement at the same exact time. It's all done at one time instead of having to do one for the Army and then one for the VA later. It's all done at once. So when you sign out, it both starts at the same time.
I also like the trend on how the you're gonna have to help me out here for a second. As far as post-traumatic stress is concerned, we got to drop the D.
Yeah.
I think that one of your guests had spoken about that as well. It's not a disorder. It's your body. I think it's just your body's natural reaction to incredible things that are happening. And should we just call it PTS?
Yeah,
Drop the D.
I think the one guest said just call it PTS. Had another guest call it PTSI, so post-traumatic stress injury. So two different things. I don't think it's a disorder either. I'm not a scientist, of course. I'm not a doctor. I've stayed a lot of Holiday Inn Expresses, but I am not a doctor. But PTS, I think it puts it all in a nutshell right there. Our great grandfathers in World War I, it was battle fatigue or shell shock, and then battle fatigue in World War II, and I forget what it was called in Vietnam, and then it came to us. It became PTS. It's the same thing, just different names on everything.
I can't imagine what the soldiers in the Civil War went through with the type of warfare that was going on, with no social structure whatsoever.
Right.
And it's pretty remarkable. But when I wrote down my goofy adventures, I was just doing just bizarre things. My chapter 6 is called "Why I Stole a Bulldozer." That was the best joke of the war. I'm gonna just cut to the chase on that one. 2000.
Why did you?
Why did I? To save the lives of Marines.
Nice.
Ultimately, because let me see. I gained a reputation of being willing to do just about anything. And the S3 called me, and he said there was an up-armored bulldozer in a railroad yard in central Baghdad. He said, "What do you think about going and getting it?" And like a moron, I said, "Well, whose is it?" He says, "Well, it says Caterpillar on the side of it, so go get it." And I learned quickly that when it's 120 degrees outside, Rich, nobody cares what you're doing.
Right. They're not looking.
Yeah. And so you just go in bold as brass, and the mechanics were able to spray some ether in the carb and get the oils moving, and we were able to haul it back to BIOP, fix it up. We hung about $30,000 worth of parts, and we gave it to the Marine Corps. And for your audience, it's a D9 high track, 54 tons, a blade as big as a garage door, and it had ballistic glass all around it. So the Israeli Defense Forces call it the teddy bear.
Nice.
And so with the time that we were there, and coming out of the Army Reserve, we did everything as fast as we possibly could. And we got a good reputation amongst our active duty brethren. We were fixing up their life support areas and whatever the case may be, making sure that, like I said, the entry control points were good and whatnot. But yeah, it was the Wild West, and it was, I was in interesting places at interesting times, and I became sort of ethically challenged, shall we say.
I think a lot of people did a lot of reappropriating a lot of goods over there. We went down from Ramadi to BIOP to pick up our new sergeant major, our new brigade sergeant major, and we got blown up on Route Irish there. And so we needed a tow bar to get both our vehicles back. And first AD had just got involuntarily extended, so they were pretty upset about everything in life and hating everything.
Oh, yes.
So that's right where we pulled in was right at their camp there. So we said, "Hey, can we borrow one of your tow bars and we'll bring it back our next ride down?" They told us to pound sand, get out of there. I said, "Okay, thanks. Thank you." So we just took the tow bar and left, and we towed that vehicle back. Never got the tow bar back to them.
Well, they must not have really wanted it, because it wasn't guarded, it wasn't nailed down, it wasn't locked up.
Exactly.
That sort of thing. At the end of the war, the generals will get together and they'll parse it all out, and we'll be okay.
Exactly. So we do have a question from the audience for you in here. This is from
Cool.
Calabanzas Ty. When did you realize writing had become more than therapy for you? Thanks, Calabanzas.
It's also entertainment because you're writing for yourself, principally. It's if I can make myself choke up, if I can make myself cry, if I can make myself laugh and tells the weird stories, then it tickles your soul, sort of. It helps you process. Even talking on with other veterans on podcasts and whatnot, I've come to realize that I do not have post-traumatic stress, but the trauma that I incurred is from my ex-wife, and I was in Iraq the first time. I'm like, this is nice. No one's yelling at me. You know, I mean, you're in Iraq, but she was my ex-wife. You know, so it wasn't that bad. Like I said, no one was yelling at me. So I think that by processing it and making sense of it, like I said, I tried to explain what a counterinsurgency was to Karen from Kansas, and try to explain, the complexities of it, such as when Big Daddy David Petraeus came in, and they rewrote the counterinsurgency manual, but we were living it, and you show the people that their government can take care of them. They can pick up the garbage. They can keep the schools open. They can protect their borders. They can they can have a fair court system.
Yep.
In actual elections. So, but it takes a while to process that instead of just going off of what the mass media wants you to think that, oh no, the whole thing was a waste of time. It didn't work.
And we were talking about your first book, your book, Scoundrels in Iraq, and you have another book that's on your website, Pinup Dolls and Classic Cars, a COVID love story.
A COVID love story.
How did you come up with that, and what's the backstory of it?
I went to car shows. Nice. And I saw pinups there, and I didn't know it was a thing. I always thought pinup was like pinup art from World War II,
50s and stuff.
Jane Russell, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And there are chapters out there, women predominantly, and they do charitable events, and they have little pageants, and they pair up sometimes with car shows. And I immediately saw a symbiotic relationship between gearheads and pinup dolls. And I immediately had an entire cast of characters, and I knew what my second novel was going to be about. And I wrote about 2/3 of the book when COVID occurred in the early months of 2020. And they started shutting things down. Well, I thought, okay, this is going to put a twist on the book. And so it's interesting that there aren't very many people talking about COVID and what happened and how it affected us.
Show the picture of that book right there for the audience as well. This is on your website right here. So Pinup Dolls, Classic Cars, and COVID Love Story. It's a great cover picture. That's obviously you standing outside the car there, and your makeup and stuff there. But
I'm not a gearhead though. I'm a carpenter by trade.
Carpenter by trade. There you go.
All my tools are in standard. So yeah, I don't see a lot of people talking about the pandemic and how it changed us. I think people are reluctant to do that. So my book reminds us of some of the more ridiculous things. How many times did we stop, to go to the convenience store? You forget your mask, and you got to turn right back around, get it off the floorboard of your car, slap the damn thing on. Or you go to a restaurant and you need a mask to go in, but then as soon as you get seated, you take the mask off. There's a bubble around you, and I came to the conclusion that it's tyranny, and the mark of a tyranny is when the people are told to do things that are patently absurd, and you have to do it. I was non-essential, so I was furloughed, if you would. Donald Trump sent me a check for $1,200. That was cool. I remember that. But my girlfriend at the time had a compromised immune system, so she had to isolate herself. She took her dog. My lease was up. Like I said, I lost my job. I was a country song. And so
Blue jeans. Anything about blue jeans yet?
How's that?
You have nothing about blue jeans in there yet.
Oh, yeah. Well. So I think it's important to have that conversation too. You know, you went from, you know, how did it affect people's lives? A lot of people got wrecked. You didn't have, they shut the schools down. We were the only country in the world that shut down schools for over a year. The only one. Yep. And I think we need to have, these are hard conversations too, you know, but the book ends in the summer of 2020. So we had no idea what was going on back in the day.
Definitely. And you can see, we talked about PTS earlier. A lot of people have that from COVID because it shocked their head so much that if I walk outside, I can die, because that's what the box was telling them. The box was telling them, if you go outside and say hello to your neighbor, you will die. Everyone's dying. There's truckloads of people dead. That's in their heads now. If they go outside, there's still people that wear masks alone in their cars, alone in their car wearing a mask because they might die.
Yeah, I was living in Seattle land, and they shut down hard. They shut down restaurants that never came back. They shut down golf courses. And another weird thing that happened is that you had people, the government was encouraging people to rat out their neighbors if they had a family gathering in their backyard, you know, super spreader events. But you can go to the Antifa rally. That's fine. But
that's okay.
And I remember when they shut down the sporting events, the athletes still played, and they put up these giant cardboard heads in the stands, and it became Orwellian, and how fast it happened, and how gleeful the politicians were shutting down churches. Christians are very compliant, very, very, very compliant, and we're singing in church with a mask on our face. It's like, are you? And I had to get out of there. I moved to Tennessee, brother. I couldn't, because there'll be a next time. And how quickly all of a sudden it's like, is this East Germany? I don't remember.
It was bad. It was good here. I mean, we didn't really shut down much here in Tennessee. We went virtual for a little bit with schools, and then kind of went right back to a hybrid for the families that didn't want to send their kids, and then those other kids who their parents didn't want them at home, go to school and just be kids and don't lose that social interaction, because that stunted a lot of social growth for many of our youth by keeping them away from other children for that long and just being around their adults in their house. That slowed down a lot of stuff, and it's horrible that we did that.
Oh, sure. I saw stories on the news of parents with young children that would wear masks in their homes. And it's like, so how do you expect, you know, little Richie to learn how to talk if you can't see your mouth? These children are going to think that we're all outlaws, you know, that we wear bandanas around our faces because, you know, we're criminals. It was just a mountain of stupid everywhere you looked. So I'm glad I got out of there. The governor of Washington State, Inslee, he ran for president. He was the last governor in the country to give up his emergency powers.
Wow.
Because it was so much fun bossing people around. And it just came upon us, and it crashed on us, and the fear factor, and it was just like they could do whatever they wanted to, and then money was just flying out the window. And that's why we have inflation, because we were spending like drunken sailors.
Yes. On liberty. Yes. Another question popped in here from Always Be You. How did military leadership shape the way you tell stories today? Thank you, Always Be You.
Let's see. That's a good one. Military leadership is the art of right out of the FM. It is the art of motivating individuals towards the accomplishment of group goals, plus being able to look for constant improvement within the organization. So it's an art. So as far as writing is concerned, I suppose that there's that constant improvement. I edit things 20 times. So you're always looking for that improvement. And if I can motivate you got to motivate your reader to continue to turn the page.
Yep.
You got to give them inspiration. You have to make it entertaining, to the audience. And at the same time, when you are leading people, not losing the thread, giving them something to giving them goals is important, and communicating effectively, to be succinct and don't use too many words. Be brief, be brilliant, be gone.
Nice. That's a good one.
That's how they taught us how to brief. when I was a PowerPoint ranger.
Get in, get out. Don't give him too much to think about, because he'll ask questions. Keep moving.
And the American soldier is wonderful, because they will do anything. They will take those risks, but they want to know why.
Yep.
They want to know why. And if you as a leader can't explain the why, then you've lost them.
You've lost that edge, yeah, definitely. Another one popped in as you're giving that answer. T.D. Jones 4 Jr. What did heart failure teach you about identity and mortality?
What did it teach me? Let's see. Well, I stowed away, so allegedly, okay, air quotes. I had been in for 17 years when we were at doing our pre-deployment activities at Fort Leonard Wood. And right before about ready to leave, I got called to the hospital, and some idiot in a lab coat said, "What made you think you could be in the Army?" And my heart just sank. I'm like, "Oh God, no." And they were about ready to send me home.
Wow.
And I begged the colonel, and he's like, "Kenny, I've got 20 people begging me to leave them behind, and I got 3 people begging me to take them." He said, how do I know that you're going to be all right? I said, "Sir, I do concrete form work in the summertime. As long as I get my drugs, I'm good." So somehow the Fort Leonard Wood Hospital misplaced my medical records. It was amazing. They found them after about 10 or 11 months, and I got a word that I wasn't supposed to be in Iraq. And I'm like, really? Far out. Let's go. I was full. So what did it teach me? Well, I was a little scoundrelly. Let me put it to that way. I came back and I was put into med hold, and I was eventually found to be worldwide deployable. So Iraq to me was the first time was like being in a spa. I became heart healthy. I worked out, I ran, no beer at the point of a gun. And so what did it teach me about mortality? When your feet hit the carpeting in the morning, that's bonus time. I didn't know if I'd ever make it to 57 and a half years old. I really wasn't sure. So I feel as though I won the race, and now I'm retired. I can do what I really want to do, and finding these hard issues I like just exploring these super hard issues those that have to do with the mental well-being of service members. There's people who are going out to the jungles and doing the ayahuasca and things with trauma with psychedelics and things like that. Is it ibogaine?
Yep.
And so I think we should continue to explore that and see if the government can actually ease people's suffering. If can you really give this drug to heroin addicts and it helps to cure them? So I like to keep myself, in the fight as far as, hey, we need to talk about this. We need to remember the nasty bits, but I mix it with humor because I'm a goofball by nature. So I'm going to tell you funny stories to relieve the pressure. Well, let's get back to the hard things,
Definitely. And we've had I'm sure you've seen on our show, we've had a few guests that have tried, I think, multiple of those. Most of them did one and had success with that one. Some have tried multiple different varieties to see which one is best. And not one of them said it was bad. Not one of them said it didn't help. So that's testimony right there. And getting big government to say, yes, we can do that, because it takes away from big pharma if they do that. If they don't let big pharma have their hand in the cookie jar, that's the problem on that side. But getting our veterans and our first responders and our people to be healthy and feel like they're worthwhile again, I think it's well worth the cost of big pharma crashing.
Sure. We have to remember that there was a time where it was a pill for every ill.
Yep.
And there was a VA medical center in northern Wisconsin, a little town called Toma near Fort McCoy, Wisconsin. And they were infamous just because of the fact that they would just load up veterans with so many drugs. And it wasn't helping them in whatsoever. It was counterproductive. And so we have to keep on beating that drum saying, don't do that. Or why receive therapy from someone who has no experience with the issues pertaining to being in a combat situation? My service was different as a goofy engineer, but I refuse to accept the idea that our sacrifice downrange wasn't extremely important and it helped the people in those countries. But first, we got to remember that it's a different part of the world, brother. It's a very different culture.
100%. And our suffering we should be able to find the healing. Congressman Morgan Luttrell is one of the stalwarts to try to get the alternative medicines out there. Navy SEAL veteran. So having him in the corner of the alternative medicine is a big help. And there's others in there too that they don't pop in my head, but Morgan Luttrell is one that pops in my head because I've seen him giving the speeches on it alongside his brother Marcus from A Lone Survivor. So both of them have advocated for it. Morgan being in office and being a leader still on that side of the fence now and advocating for it should help it move along, probably at a snail's pace, but it will move along, I think, now.
Let me ask you this, Rich, being that as a contractor that you're working with troopers all the time, how's morale? Is the military shit canning the DEI stuff quick?
Oh yeah, it's changed pretty quickly over the last year plus now. We've seen a very good spike in morale over the last probably 14, 16 months now. Probably since November 24. That's when the spike started. And re-enlistment rates are up. They're at probably the highest they've been in a long time, re-enlistment rates. You can't really look at the enlistment rates because they kind of dropped the regulations, dropped the requirements for a while to make them kind of meet quota. But I think even without the drop now, it's probably going above and beyond quota. So you can see a much different mindset now within the military. Things are working out a lot better than people thought they would. Of course, every change, kicking and screaming happens. No matter, you've seen it throughout your career. And every time there's a little bit of change, kicking and screaming occurs. But once the dust settles and you realize, hey, it's for the greater good, it's not just to stir the pot, it's going the right way.
I certainly hope so.
All right, we got a couple more questions from the audience, then we'll start wrapping up here. This is from Love Sick Pup. Why do stories drawn from suffering feel more honest and more necessary? Thank you, Love Sick Pup.
I am a stoic by nature. And so I believe that most suffering is unnecessary. But if you dwell on the painful bits and you can't get away from it, then you're going to continue to feel that discomfort, that pain. And so talking about it is your therapy, and it brings forth the honesty, because you can't bullshit yourself. That's not going to do any good. And when you crosstalk with other people, then their experiences can be brought to the forefront too. So I really think that the trend for podcasting is a great, it's this emerging media isn't going anywhere. But I think that not everything is created equal. I think that trauma, as a wordsmith, I hear that word a lot. So many things are traumatic now. Are they? Are they really? I couldn't find a good place to park my car when I was going grocery shopping. It was traumatic.
Yeah.
What was it?
Did you die?
Not everything is equal.
Yeah, it's strange how they grip onto, or people grip onto to words such as trauma or holistic, things like that. For like 5 years, everything had to be holistic, the holistic approach to things. Then it was trauma coaching. Then it was the broken veteran. I'm a broken veteran. You're a broken veteran. Let's all be broken veterans. And then that turned into, I'm a joiner veteran. I'm going to join every organization and get as much swag as possible. And now that's all starting to clear up now, and you're starting to find out those who really advocate for veterans and those who really weren't doing anything but chasing headlines, and those organizations are kind of going away. They're no longer saying that everyone's broken because it wasn't working for them anymore. They weren't getting those donors by using that holistic approach that let's just cater to one type of veteran, or let's highlight what's in the headlines of the news now. It kind of broke people. And I think we're in a better place as far as that stuff as well, too, using wordsmithing as a way to go to that.
But when you raise your right hand and you swear to do your duty, and you sign that paper with Uncle Sugar, it takes a lot of bravery, because you don't know what Uncle Sugar is going to do.
Yeah.
You don't know where you might end up. I didn't deploy until I had been in for 17, 18 years. Yeah. So my hat's off to the young people. Now, when the next war hits, I'm going to be the armchair general. I'll be rooting from the side. I'll be rooting from the sidelines.
You did your part. You did your time. It's time for someone else to step up, and that's what we're trained as young leaders, to pave the way for the next leaders. So you did your part, and those who trained or those who you mentored along the way, they're the ones now training the next generation who are going to fight Space Force and do space balls and whatever they're going to fight in the next emergency. It's going to be a totally different war than we ever thought we'd seen or thought we would see. So it'd be good to sit on this side of the fence and watch it.
Yeah, maybe I can enlist in the Space Force. I can tell them I want to be a tail gunner or something like that.
There you go. That'd be great. Last question from the audience. Here we go. This is from Kurt Onley. What advice would you give veterans struggling to find purpose after service? Great question, Kurt.
You enlisted for a reason. You signed with Uncle Sugar for a reason. You developed within yourself, but it was something bigger than yourself. You're putting yourself at risk in defense of your community, your family, your neighbors, and your nation as a whole. And so thinking beyond yourself is probably the answer that you're looking for. How do you find meaning? By engaging with other people and volunteering at church. Be a big brother, big sister. You don't have to be perfect, but actually engaging with other folks. Hopefully I answered that.
Yeah, that helps out a lot. And that helps you find the thing that makes you that you're passionate about. That'll help you find your purpose. And sometimes it is volunteering. Volunteering really helps a lot of people because you're able to give back. And like you said, you don't have to be perfect at something. Usually, the person that's not perfect in life is the best mentor because they can tell you what not to do and the things that didn't work for them and maybe make your life a little bit easier as you move forward. So just think about that. You don't have to be that perfect specimen, I guess, to call it there. All right, Ken, we've hit a lot of things in this last hour, 56 minutes right now. I always give my guests two questions to end it out. The first one is, what's the best way to get in contact with you if someone wants you on their show or they just want to talk to you about writing or something?
They can go to my website and you'll find an email address there. So there's a way of contacting me. And as I found the Misfit Nation on Podmatch, which I've been doing for the last little bit. And that has also been a lot of fun. So you can query me. You can go to my YouTube channel. And I've done some really weird stuff as far as my reels are concerned. I do Japanese haikus and dating advice and crazy stuff like that. I did a short on why I stole a bulldozer. So I'm a goofball, and if you are a podcaster and you're on Podmatch, then look me up.
Outstanding. And final question, since you've listened to or watched some of our previous shows, you know this question's coming at you. What's 3 things the Misfit Nation can start doing tomorrow to be better people?
To be better people.
Yes.
That introspection is difficult. I'm a Christian myself, so for me it's Bible study. But as far as being a better person, maybe put your phone down. Maybe don't get all ramped up on mass media, and develop relationships with other people. I've been in places in my life where it's like, wow, I don't really have any friends. I've just been sitting on the couch drinking beer, and it doesn't have to be that way. So when I heard about Misfit Nation, I felt, hey, that's something that I can identify with. You don't need to be that lone wolf. So I would encourage the Misfit Nation to continue to reach out to the authors and what's it called now? Thought leaders.
Thought leaders, yes. That's the word of the week. Yes.
Not so much influencers.
Yeah. Thought leaders, yes. Kenny, this has been great. Thanks for hanging out with us. I know your bag is packed. You're ready to go on that vacation after retiring, going to lovely Cancun. Starts as soon as we hang up here. So good luck on that trip, and we can't wait to see what comes out from you next, Kenny. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Misfit Nation, remember, a day with you tomorrow is 100% better than one without you. Do not make a permanent decision to a temporary problem. I know it sounds very weird saying it's a temporary problem because it's hurting you inside, but if you just stop and think about those around you, those who care about you, those who you think won't care if you're gone, they will, and they will miss you. So think about them. Call them. Call the 3 people that are on that 1-inch piece of paper in your wallet. There are 3 names. Call them. They want to hear from you. If you don't want to call them, dial 988. Follow the prompts. If you're a veteran, take option 1. If all that doesn't work, contact us. info@themisfitnation.com, Steven@themisfitnation.com, or Jake@themisfitnation.com. We will get back with you. We will keep you on the line until we find someone in your area to get to you and to sit with you and talk. because we need you with us. Until next time, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the MisFitNation Show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are MisFit Nation.